Hello beautiful people, welcome to my channel. My name is Jade Sola. If you've been following my channel, you will know that I have consistently spoken about how people with non-tech experience can actually use their existing knowledge to transition into tech. And that is what we're going to be talking about today. Today's topic is about why domain knowledge is extremely important in today's world. So one of the things that keeps coming up is that people think that they need to be super technical to, work in a tech company or to transition into tech. And they always forget that technology is just an enabler. But more importantly is that technology is used to solve problems for real life people. And that is why I think that today's video is such an important one for anyone who is either thinking of transitioning into tech, or even if you're a super technical person working in tech, you would realize that eventually you're going to need domain knowledge. So let's start by understanding what domain knowledge is, right? According to Wikipedia, domain knowledge is a knowledge of a specific specialized discipline or field in contrast to general or domain independent knowledge. I'll check another definition for you, right? This is a much simpler definition, and I saw this on Indeed. And this one says domain knowledge is the understanding of a specific industry, discipline, or activity. Now, it's important that you understand that domain knowledge can be gotten from anywhere, really. Like, it could be from your existing job, it could be from your hobbies, your passions, the things you read about, all those kind of things. So why is domain knowledge so important? I said earlier that, technology is used to solve problems for everyday people, real life people. And that is why you cannot disregard someone's domain knowledge on a particular subject matter. I'll give you a random example. So think about a new mom. This is such an interesting example for someone who doesn't have a child. Anyways, so think about a new mom, yeah? You realize that as the child continues to grow and as the mother continues to spend time with the child, they start to pick on, body language of the baby, how they react when they're in pain, when they're hungry, when they need to sleep. And it doesn't matter how many times you've given birth to children, you can never know someone's child like they do. Do you understand what I'm saying? That is where that domain knowledge is. If you ask a mom how they are going to, design a product for their child, it will be a no-brainer. It will come to them so easily because one, they know their child, they know their baby, they've spent time studying their baby, they know what they like, they know what they don't like, they know what they respond to, and that is why that knowledge is so valuable to anything that they're trying to build for that child. And that is how you need to think about, your domain knowledge. So just thinking about this example that I just gave, you should understand why it's so critical for people who have domain knowledge to be part of, how a product is built. So why do tech companies really value this domain knowledge? Number one, they don't want to build bad products. Bad products usually would come when, there's not been a lot of thought put into the solution that has been built, where they're either not solving the pain point of the customer, or the product is actually not just usable for anyone, or maybe that alternative products in the market are better than the one that has been built. The reason why you need people who are knowledgeable about the domain, the industry, the users is all because of this. When you have people on your team who can say, hey, this is how the typical journey of someone who's trying to shop online looks like. This is the typical journey of someone who's trying to take a loan looks like. This is the typical journey of someone who's trying to buy a property. This is their typical journey. And then they can now start to identify, what are the pain points along this journey. So let's say, for example, you're trying to buy a house. You know that you need to find the right house. You know that you want to find the right house within your budget. You want to find the right house within your budget and within the location that you actually prefer. You want to find a house in an area where commute is easy, where, property will appreciate and all those kind of things. Who do you think is in the best position to build a solution for this? It is people who are in the industry, real estate agents who, every day they speak to people who are trying to find, an accommodation, either to rent or to buy. It is those kind of people that you need on your team to actually, help you build the product. Another reason why domain knowledge is extremely important to tech companies is because a lot of the times when they're hiring, they're looking for people who can hit the ground running. And while it's always going to take time when you join, a new team and everything, but just having the basic knowledge of what they're talking about in terms of requirements, for example. So when they're talking in meetings and trying to think of solutions, you're not starting from ground zero. Even if you're a developer, it's usually easier for you to connect more with requirements that are given to you when you have a sizable idea of how things are meant to work. So you're not waiting for people to dictate things to you. You're able to, on your own, think of how to make a solution better. So when you have the domain knowledge, it's usually easier for you to connect with whatever thing that is being spoken about, the problem they're trying to solve, the requirements they're trying to understand, how the product makes money and all those kind of things. Another reason why tech companies value domain knowledge is because they want to avoid landmines. So it could be landmines as a result of, say, regulations, different laws, or even the market. So for example, if you're trying to build a product in the financial sector, you can't be moving anyhow. You need people who understand regulations and the landmines and things that can cost you your license, your business, fines, on your team. You have specialized lawyers who understand the financial space, right, on your team, who can help you, look at contracts, who can help you make sure that the products you're building or the solutions you're coming up with actually are in line with the stipulated regulations. So I'll give you an example of how a tech company can potentially avoid a landmine in a new market, for example. Let's say, for example, an international buy now, pay later company is trying to expand their market to a place like Nigeria, and they come to someone like me. There's so many information that I can give to them and, tell them about landmines to avoid. So first of all, just even thinking about return policy in a place like Nigeria compared to the UK, they're like miles apart. There's hardly, any business in Nigeria who is proud to say, oh, we have fantastic return policy, because it almost doesn't exist. Now, when people buy on credit in that kind of market and something happens to their product, they're not going to pay you. So if a Klarna is trying to move their product to Nigeria, they have to be thinking about how do they mitigate against this kind of things when, people can buy a product and if it's faulty and there's no return policy, what then happens to their money? They're not going to get paid. So having someone like me on their team who understands not just the buy now, pay later industry, but also the Nigerian market as a whole, you can imagine how my experience and the things that I know will be so valuable to them when they're trying to expand to a place like Nigeria and they're employing someone like me. Another reason why tech companies really value industry knowledge, domain knowledge, is because they want to avoid delays. Delay to launch, delay to go to market, delay to, get a project off the ground. Delays can cost tech companies a lot of money. It can also cost them a lot of opportunities. Sometimes they talk about that first mover advantage, especially in a very competitive market. So imagine a tech company hearing that, a competition is launching a feature which they think is going to be a game changer. And they already have people on their team who have, the industry knowledge, the expertise of, thinking of how to build a similar feature, but more importantly, even differentiate that feature from competition's feature in the market, and also how to even communicate this differentiating factor to the people who are going to be using it eventually. Like those kind of things, you can't put money on that. So people who have domain knowledge are able to solve problems faster, they're more productive, they're able to bring, diverse knowledge and think outside the box, when they're trying to craft a solution to a problem. Companies need this knowledge within their team. You want people who understand the user, people who understand the pain points, people who can, empathize with a customer's journey and try to improve it. You need people who understands the industry as a whole, trends, what has worked, what has not worked, markets, whether it's emerging markets, whether it's developed markets. You need people who have this knowledge and understanding to be a part of your solutions team when they're designing a product, when they're thinking of new ways they can come up with solutions to solve a problem. Now let's look at a simple example of how your domain knowledge or expertise can be used in a real life situation in a tech environment. So let's say Jane, right, works for a retail store that sells underwears for women. I've picked this example in particular because I want people to start to think about technology products in terms of how it is solving problems for real life people. So Jane works in this retail physical store where they sell, bras and pants and underwears for women. So now let's say Jane wants to now move to an e-commerce company that sells underwears online, or that her current company even wants to explore like an e-commerce strategy to start to sell their products online. And they've assigned Jane to this task. Here's how I expect Jane to think about, leveraging her current domain knowledge to come up with the best strategy to solve this problem, right? So I expect her to first of all think of, a typical customer's journey walking into their store. So the customer comes into the store and then sees the different bras and pants and underwears on display, right? I would imagine that the way the store is set up, the bras are not mixed with the pants, the matching sets are not totally separate, right? And there's a clear way for how the customers are able to navigate the physical store. So when Jane is thinking about the e-commerce strategy, she's thinking about the categories of how the inventory is going to be, grouped in a way that it's easy for customers to find. So after a customer has found what they're looking for, let's say a bra, usually they will test it out. So when I'm thinking of an e-commerce strategy is, how can I make sure that the customers that are shopping online are able to know their size? So she can then be thinking of either, adding a size chart to the product page to make sure that customers are able to understand their size. So even if they don't know their size, she may be thinking, sometimes we do measure customers in store. So she may be thinking, how can we put that same thing online? It may be a short video that they're going to add to the product page, literally showing women how to accurately measure their bra size. Now, why should she be thinking this way? She's trying to avoid bad experience for their customers in terms of, they order, they get it, and then it's not their size. Also is the fact that women want bras that actually fit. So that thing is doing two things, making sure that, the experience of the customer is good. They don't need to travel physically to a store, but more importantly, that they now know their bra size that fits them and can go under any clothes for them. Another thing she's going to be thinking about is when customers are not able to find the product that they're looking for in the store, right? Usually they will walk up to someone in the store to ask them if they do have it. So she's thinking of, how do they search, right, for a product? Are they able to search by, category? Are they able to search by a specific product name? What certain keywords are they going to be searching for? So that is part of the SEO. If the product is not available and the customer really wants it, in a physical store, you may be seeing things like the rep, taking the details of the customer and saying, we will contact you when this thing is back in stock. How do you implement that on an e-commerce platform? It's either when this product is actually out of stock, you can see that it's actually out of stock. And then you can also see the option of, notify me when it's back in stock, right? Can you see how I'm thinking about this problem? Another thing that she may be thinking about is, what if this customer actually wants to interact with someone from the company? So is there an option for a live chat where the customer can directly interact with the customer support and get the information that they need about the product they're trying to buy? Another thing she may be thinking about is, how do we make sure that this product is described as accurately as possible? So making sure that the product is described in a way that it doesn't confuse the customer and it helps the customer to make the best decision for them. Talking about the color, the size, the type of material, whether it stretches, whether it's half bra, whether it has strap, whether it doesn't have strap. All those knowledge right? Just taking her experience from doing it in a physical store. So another thing she may be thinking about is, so how do they make payment, right? So what are the payment options that are available in their store, right? And how can they make sure that customers are able to pay online? So do they have to pay outrightly? Are they able to spread payments? These are the things that she can be leveraging her existing knowledge to think about. So after the customer has bought the product, is there aftercare, right? How do they take care of the underwear? How do they wash it? These are things that she may decide to add to that e-commerce experience for the customer. Also would be, refunds and returns. So how can you make a customer return a product seamlessly? So these are some of the things that she's going to be thinking about from just her experience of selling the same product in a physical store. The experience that she's gained over the years, the questions that customers ask, she can incorporate all that into that e-commerce strategy. So how then can you gain this domain knowledge? For a lot of us, we actually do have things that we're extremely knowledgeable about. And it's always a good place to start. Either, you've worked in a specific industry for a really long time, you understand the domain, you understand the market, you understand, the users, the products that are being used, you have this knowledge already. And there are things that, tech companies are looking for in people that are trying to hire. If you don't have the domain knowledge that you require, you can actually learn it. You can learn it by reading books. You can learn it by developing interests, in that particular subject, and you're listening to news, you're watching videos, you're doing so much in that space that, you're picking up different things, and eventually you're going to be an expert on that subject matter. Alternatively, you can either go and even take, a domain specific course that will give you an overview of an industry or a market or a product. Like, there's so many courses out there like that. So now I hope you really understand why your existing domain knowledge is very valuable to the tech industry. And if you've been pussyfooting on the idea of transitioning into tech because you think that you need to start from scratch, I hope that this video has changed your mind on this. Anyways, I've come to the end of this video. If you've enjoyed this video, please make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And I will see you next time. Bye.